tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know what I'm here to do. I'm here to join me as always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones, twos, Jay Nice, Johnny Woodard. How are you guys?
Oh, this was a great show today.
Great show, big show. A regular coming back, drop the hammer of the gods. Hope you guys had a great Labor Day. I hope you didn't labor on Labor Day, okay? I hope you took some time off, enjoyed it, barbecued, hung out with the family, niñas and enjoy that, and niños too. Guys, real quick, if you'd like to see me live, I have some upcoming events coming. This weekend, Thursday through Saturday, I am at Plano, Texas. I'm at the Plano House of Comedy with my boy Zane Helberg. Then next Wednesday is Comedy Chaos live at the Comedy Store, September 14th. 2 shows, 8 p.m. and 10:30. And then Saratoga Springs with my boy Howie Dewey at the end of the month. Come get weird, bro.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the
Okay, let's get into it. I'm very excited to have this next guest back. He has a very popular podcast called Macroaggressions. Like who we call it? Microaggressions. Macroaggressions. It's a great podcast. And he's part of the 4 horsemen of the Union of the Unwanted. Please welcome my good friend and Tinfoil Hat regular, Charlie Robinson. How are you, Charlie?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me back. When are you coming to Denver? What's going on?
We keep working on it, man. I keep trying to hold off for the Comedy Works out there because everyone says that's the best comedy club out there, and I've been dying to play it. But I've also get hit up a lot to go play weed shows, but I'm not a weed guy because I'm sober, and I always get told I bring Coke Energy to a weed party, which isn't fun.
I love stoners, but they're not the best show. They're kind of...
It is weird.
Yeah, they're a little slow on it.
So I want to come to Denver, and when I do, we'll go grab dinner and just talk a lot of shit, bro. A lot of shit.
A lot of shit.
Charlie, for those who may not be familiar with your amazing Rockfin channel, can you tell us a little bit about you and your wonderful stuff and where our listeners can find you?
Sure. Macroaggressions goes out twice a week, once as a monologue, once as an interview. It's available for free. There's an audio podcast. So my God, just add it to your daily selection of insanity that you're listening to. You can find it in video format on band.video, on Rockfin, of course, and on Odyssey. The website's theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com, and you can follow me on Twitter at Macroaggressions, which I cannot believe I haven't been kicked off again, because I like to go a little bit hard over there, but for some reason I seem to be dodging the algorithms, but that won't last for long. And if you want to catch up and find information about the books I've written, go to the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com.
All the links included in the description of the show, so please go check those out. Don't put that energy out. Why would they get rid of you, buddy? You're a positive energy. You're doing good for humanity. They'll never put that out. They'll never take that down. And there are just some people, let's say on YouTube, that do what we do, but don't get touched. And it's just, I guess if you're one of the, I know I'm not like a super OG of conspiracies, but I like kind of when this thing started ramping up, I was in there throwing bombs, and I guess I'm just kind of on their. I'm on their board that they shoot darts at all the time at Alphabet. You know, they're just constantly trying to hit me. So if you can stay on there, figure out a way to stay there, because as much as YouTube drives me nuts, it is Main Street, and you can get a lot more. It's always good to be in front if you're not being shadow banned. I am completely shadow banned there. But if you can stay on there, try to stay on there. I
tried. I mean, they kicked me off 2 weeks ago. YouTube did. For no reason, no video. I hadn't posted anything in 4 months. They were giving me strikes for posting Union of the Unwanted videos on there from a year ago. And they'd give me a strike, and then a couple weeks ago, I didn't get any strike. I just got an email saying your channel's been deleted.
Oh my God. I just like
nothing mattered. I agree with you. It is like Main Street, but I didn't try to grow that channel because it was like building it on a foundation of quicksand. I figured what's the point? You know, it's going away at some point. So
I don't know if you saved your stuff, but like I don't save a lot of my stuff because a lot of other podcasts that I do don't go down the rabbit hole. So I'm not scared to delete it, but I can't imagine we do hit a crazy topic, they delete our shit, and now our 200 episodes are gone.
Yeah, and what else is crazy, and like the reason I don't just start a side tinfoil hat channel is because I've been there where Charlie is, where I've had 2 channels terminated. One was brought back, thank God. But I was told like this, you can't post on, we find you posting anywhere, we're immediately deleting it. So like I couldn't do comedy on there either. And all my shit gets shadow banned anyways. But like the thought of not being able to put comedy on YouTube kind of fucks me up, man. You know, so you gotta kind of play that game. So my whole point is like, if we start doing tinfoil hats on there, you could get fucked because they could associate you with the show and then go after we don't smoke the same.
Oh, yeah, because once they know your face, they'll go straight for you.
They'll go after you, dude. That's why I started telling people to put Fat Dragon up instead of Sam Tripoli when I do YouTube stuff so they don't get dinged or anything like that. Because I'm dangerous, bro. Dangerous.
You could get plastic surgery for your face if you wanted to. And
I could.
Pull the algorithms that way.
Well, look what you go with.
Just a gold tooth and neck tat.
That's not enough.
Why not? Why can't I get gold tooth?
You think the algorithm? You think you're gonna bypass the algorithm with a gold tooth and a tattoo?
Well, you never know, bro. You never know.
Come on, Johnny. Tell him that ain't gonna work.
You know. Listen, anyways, I want to get into something with Charlie. 9/11's coming up. I guess this is gonna be our closest to our. We usually do a 9/11 show every year. I feel like we've talked about everything you can talk about, even though I got some new information. Which I'm very excited to talk to Charlie about. Charlie, real quick, what's your thoughts on 9/11? Obviously, we're over 20 years past. I mean, there are still people that believe in the official narrative, which makes me laugh. But What are your thoughts?
I think that 9/11 was, it's our generation's Kennedy assassination. Everybody knows where they were at that moment. I think that people say it's an inside job. I think it's an inside and outside job. I think there was collusion on the inside and on the outside. I think that, if you want to boil it down to like who was responsible for it, look, you've had 2 decades. If you still think that 19 Arab hijackers with box cutters overpowered flight crews and flew those planes off course for an hour and then crashed them perfectly into their target by having no flight training that warranted that, you're dumb. You're just dumb at this point. It's 20 years. It's beyond like, well, I haven't looked into it or I don't know. No, if you think the official story is true, you're dumb. And you don't have to remain dumb. Get educated about it. Understand that there's a whole lot more to the story than if you think you know what happened on 9/11 because you watched the nightly news, then you know nothing. Okay. And it's a very important event to have an understanding of because from it, so many restrictions were slapped into place that we still deal with. I mean, Sam, when you get on a plane and you go fly out to a comedy show, are you taking your shoes off still? Are you temporarily, it was a temporary measure because there might be liquid explosives and, going through and getting on these airplanes. That's 21 years ago. You're still doing it. We're all still doing it. That's because nothing is as permanent as a temporary government measure. So a lot of this stuff that's in the wake of 9/11, Patriot Act, which spawned Department of Homeland Security and FEMA and TSA, these agencies didn't exist before, or DHS and TSA didn't even exist before this, and so they come out of this. It's another form of control by the government, which was by design all along, and it's just an incremental removal of our rights. So if you think 9/11 doesn't matter with trying to figure out COVID, you're wrong, because you have to understand the process, the media collaboration with this, the governmental advanced knowledge, the decisions that were made to clear out, to change rules in advance of 9/11 are the same things that happen with changes that happened pre-COVID to make, changing of terminologies and words and definitions and all these things. The same sort of fuckery that we see with COVID, we saw with 9/11. So I think it's important for people, if you're just in the newer generation where all you know about a grand conspiracy is COVID, that's great. But you need to understand 9/11, because if you understand that, then you'll understand how the whole process works.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. All this stuff is the crazy thing is when you see it happening in real time, and you're like, you guys don't see what's happening right now. You don't see what's happening, like with January 6th. Like, you don't see what's happening. They're trying to pass this whole domestic terrorism bureau, and they need something to kick it off, and they can't find it happening naturally. I mean, they keep trying to do it. They keep trying to make it happen. Like with the kidnapping of the governor in Michigan, that was a false flag. It's just like the story behind the shooting in Vegas, that died really quick, man, because people can see it happen in real time, and there's always some tells. If all the legacy media is talking about it, you should suspect something's up. If they instantly know who did it within seconds, something's up. And we can go on forever and ever and ever. All right, real quick, if you love the show, you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. First of all, you can go to our t-shirt shop. Go to tinfoilhattshirts.com or samtripoli.com. Click the banner. We have a couple new shirts for you. We have All My Heroes of Shadow Band and Tinfoil Hat Live, which is based off They Live. Check that out. Look at that. Looking good. Great way to support the show. Another great way to support the show is to go and check out our premium content on the show. Rockfin.com, ROKFIN.com. If you go to samtripoli.com, you just click the banners. We have Tinfoil Hat Premium, Conspiracy Onlys, live AMAs. We also have Zero, my spiritual podcast. And then finally, Conspiracy Social Club with me and Brian Callen.
And Broken Simulation.
And Broken Simulations there as well. So it's a great way. And then I also have a financial show called Cash Daddies. And we have a Patreon, patreon.com/Cash Daddies. It's a great way to make some money in these turbulent times. Johnny's killing it, right? Crushing it. We also want to give you a word from our sponsors. Hey, everybody, I want to tell you about our friends at DraftKings. Boo, 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 boo. Football fans, the first Sunday of the NFL season is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving new customers a can't-miss offer to celebrate the return of the NFL season. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $200 in free bets instantly. Okay. And as an added bonus, everyone can experience the thrill of DraftKings early win promotion. It's simple. Bet on an NFL team to win. If your team this is nuts. If your team leads by 10 at any point in the game, you get paid instantly, even if your team loses. How crazy is that? How crazy is that? Amazing. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the promo code TINFOIL to get $200 in free bets instantly when you place a $5 bet this Sunday. That's code TINFOIL only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. It's so interesting because you brought up young people. I think a more dangerous group are like people my age. I'm hurling towards 50, and the liberals, the people I grew up that were old school liberals, that have now been forced to acquiesce to new school progressives and how ridiculous they are. Because if you ask me, the Libertarian Party and the old school liberal have way more in common than the Democrats and the old school liberal.
And the main thing being common sense that they have in common.
Yeah, for sure, right? I mean, you could find little things here and there that you're like, okay, that's a little off, but overall, they tend to have the same values: live and let live. If you're not bothering me, common sense laws.
They're people you can actually talk up politics to.
Yes,
because
yes.
the other people, just you can't talk politics with.
Yes.
Them. If you have a different belief, it's not tolerable.
But what has happened is that the old school liberal has been hijacked by the new school progressive into believing like crazy things, like there's a billion genders, which ultimately, I don't care what gender you want to be, just don't pass a law that says I have to recognize it, right? Like, I don't ever, like, I've known you guys for how long? Like, for you for 5 years now? And you for like at least four. Like, have we ever discussed our genders ever in our life? And we work almost every day together. It just makes no sense. And so you go back to these, and it gets into this whole thing with like Malcolm X and the Unabomber being right about like rich liberals and like how dangerous they are, like how they co-sign on everything. And I remember, Charlie, I don't know if you remember after 9/11, the feel with everybody was just like, we got to get those motherfuckers. They hit us. We got to hit them. And like people just started believing the dumbest shit, like weapons of mass destruction. I took a meeting with a guy to pitch a show. He ran a production company. He had convinced himself that the Iraqis were so advanced that the reason they couldn't find weapons of mass destruction because that they were in underground railroads being run around so that the inspectors couldn't find them.
See, now that's somebody we should have on our team because he's got the kind of mind that likes to put things together. He's just doing it. He's just wrong.
Do you remember the Congress lady that voted not to go to war? And how much heat and how much emails and letters she got by everyone calling her like a treason and all. And she's the only one out of everybody that voted we should give it a second, let us figure this out if we should go. She got a lot of hate for it.
Even Ron Paul voted for that war, the Afghanistan war, which is there's a great story written about it, how his staff threatened to mutiny because he was going to vote against it, and his staff all came in and said, "We're out, we quit if you vote," and he had to end up voting for it. But that's the one blemish on his record, as far as I'm concerned.
What about the Minnesota senator was adamantly anti-war, and his whole family died in a plane crash right before the vote was about to happen? Do you remember that, Charlie?
No, but that doesn't sound too surprising.
He was a Minnesota senator or congressman, and he was who died in a plane crash right before.
Oh, Wellstone. You're talking about Paul Wellstone, right?
Paul Wellstone. And he was like, dude, fiery, bro. And he's like, we're not going
bald guy, right? Yeah.
Bald guy. And he just died in a plane crash. You're like, damn, dude. Damn.
Yeah, he went to my college. There's a little bench at my college dedicated to him
on
campus.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? But going back to the craziness of just everything going on, to just how it, like, Charlie, do you think it's kind of hilarious that right now, like, Fox News is seen like the voice of reason? Like, if you went back to the year 2002 and go, hey, man, in the year 2021, Republicans and Fox News are going to be seen as the voice of reason.
They were unhinged back then. They wanted war immediately. They wanted utter destruction. They wanted that whole region on fire. And I remember watching that going, Jesus, like I get it. We've been attacked, but let's figure this out. And Fox News seems like they've come completely unglued. Yeah. Now reverse it. Yeah. And MSNBC is running articles about like, well, so a tactical nuclear strike on Russia wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. And you're like, are you out of your fucking mind?
What is going on with liberals right now? But yeah, again, going to what I'm talking about, these new progressives, like they don't even try to hide it anymore. They're just rich kids who vote for stuff with their heart, with zero logic. There's no logic, with just feeling.
Feelings don't. It's not going to cut it. The way you feel about things doesn't matter anymore. We're in as Alex Jones rightly said, we are in an information war. So who's got the best information? And now the left is working off of just emotion. They just want to get people. They can't have you look at the facts. That's why they want you to believe that there's a million genders. It is important. It's imperative for them to get you to not believe your own eyes, because they are going to show you some things that don't make any sense. So they have to convince you. They have to train you early on with small, minute things like there's 100 different genders, that when you see something with your own eyes, don't believe it. If they can convince you not to believe your own eyes, then they've won this war. Because, and you do that by preying on people's emotions, getting them very fearful, or getting them very angry, or this side's coming to get us, or it's going to be a civil war, or those people aren't like you. It's herd psychology. And they know how to, the media and the Tavistock Institute and these groups, they know how to whip people up into a frenzy. Remove the facts. The facts are less important than feelings. If you can get people to feel like these should be the facts, then the facts don't matter.
100%. If you can get people to feel like these are the facts, and it has zero to do with doing the right thing. It has to do with showing the superiors, the elites, your bosses, whoever it may be, that you're willing to play ball.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Conformity. Hey, man, I'm playing ball. Just so you know, I play ball. Whatever you need, man, I will bend over backwards to say the most ridiculous shit, as long as that means you'll promote me to a higher paying job in this company. That's all I care about. And as long as I'm accepted in my peer. I mean, we look at like RFK Jr., right? Like his own wife sent out an invite which said you had to prove you were vaccinated, spitting in the face. And like, I don't want to say anything negative about him, because he said the only thing I could respect. And I think Johnny pointed it out.
Yeah.
Like, he was just like, hey, dude, sometimes you're not the king. You're not always the king of your castle. And every guy in a relationship goes, okay, respect. But what can he do? It's his wife. She wants to work in Hollywood. She's throwing up a Hail Mary pass. Show everybody she's playing ball. Don't listen to my stupid husband, right? But it's all conformity. That's all it is. Think about what Janine Garofalo went through. When she was like, dude, I'm not for this war. And she lost her television pilot. She was excommunicated from Hollywood for a very long time. I still don't, has she ever, when was the last time you saw her with a special on Showtime? Still, nothing.
It's been a while for sure.
And
for
she's
sure.
Dixie Chicks were run out. Remember, they said they were against the war, and I was like, "Oh, how dare you! You know, this is America, goddamn it! We're gonna fight them Muslims over there. You know, so you've got to whip people up into a frenzy where they check their sanity at the door and get them to feel like they're part of a team. That's why the herd is so dangerous. Not because they're free thinkers or anything like that, but exactly because they're not free thinkers, they move in large packs and they'll trample anyone that gets in their way, and you can't reason with them. That's the most important thing, is you feel like, oh, well, if only I could explain, then they'd understand. And it's like, no, they're programmed to not want to understand. They can't understand. To understand what's really going on means to break from the herd. And then that gets in some real deep psychological connections where leaving the herd is viewed as being not just dangerous to yourself, but you are opening up the herd to vulnerabilities by leaving it.
Yes.
And you're attracting predators that might want to attack this herd because you're out there all by yourself. So how dare you do this to us? So you'll start to get that scenario where the crab bucket scenario where people start pulling others down, pulling them back into this misery because they need you to be a part of it. We watched this with COVID. The psychology, I think, of COVID and 9/11 are very similar. That where you get people to feel a certain way, and then it's like, look out, man. The media doesn't have to do a whole lot more after that. They just get people angry and point them in a certain direction and let them go, and then just get out of the way and let the herd take over. Let them do all the self-reinforcement and all the policing of everybody else. If you're outside of that, if you're, God forbid, you're someone that says, well, maybe we should take a step back before we start bombing these countries. Let's actually make sure that they've got weapons of mass destruction. It's like, how dare you? You're opening us up to the possibility that we might all get killed now by you being indecisive in your actions. The herd has made a decision. We've decided this is how it's going to be. Get on board or die. And that, we saw that with COVID. We saw that with the masked Nazis and the people, saying, you're not standing on your dot. You need to stand on your dot, or you're going the wrong way down the aisle at the grocery store. And you're like, dude, do you honestly think that this is going to prevent you from getting COVID? If I go the wrong direction down an aisle, you think the universe is keeping score or something? Or are you that dumb?
Yeah.
But the answer is they've been programmed by the most sophisticated programming technology in the world, the television. And it's really effective and it's super scary. So I think we all got a sort of a case study in this over the last 2 years. And so I think that for people that are fresh through the COVID situation and they look back maybe at 9/11 and they go, well, how did you do that? Why did you guys all just decide you're going into Iraq? Iraq had nothing to do with it. Why did you sign up for that? It's like, you had to be there. If you were there, you'd understand. What the tempo was, what the temperature was in America in 2001 and 2002. Man, it was everybody better get on Team America or get the fuck out.
I completely 100% agree. It's just like I see it in LA. I have people all the time pull me aside, tell me how much they agree with me, how they're into it. But out in public, nobody wants to talk about that. And I feel, and this is my feeling, and, take into account that I've been known to be a paranoid human being, but I just feel that people get mad that I am willing to push the envelope and not go along with the official narrative because it makes them look bad because they're not doing it too. And they don't want to have to think about that. And even though I know that they 100% agree with me, I've heard the whispers or I've heard them say it to me. I've known them for a long time. They don't. They're playing ball, and I have no problems with that. I mean, you gotta do you. I can't control. I don't have as much at stake as some of these other guys. They have a lot at stake. They built a giant brand. They're doing great. I can't tell them what they should or should not do with their brand. I don't get mad at that. That's their brand, and they're going to protect it in whichever way they want to. But for me, just know that I'm doing this out of love. I don't get anything out of it. I really don't. Like in terms of comedy, like I don't get a lot of like in the last how many years, what are the big shows I've been on podcast wise? I did one thing for, I think I did Tim, Firing the Kid.
Rogan.
And Rogan.
That's it.
Dude, what you just said, they don't want to think about that. I think that's one of the biggest reasons for resistance to these ideas.
But I think a lot of them do think about it.
No. But if they think about it and believe it, then that means so many other things are true. You know what I mean? And it's just a cascade. You have to, it radically change. And people are resistant naturally to radical changes like that. And if one of those things is true, it's just a cascade of ideas that will have to change in their minds.
I get that. That is something they don't want to think about. Are they part of the problem too? Are they?
It's inertia,
Yeah, it gets kind of crazy. And they just want to accept these ridiculous rules, man.
It's easier to do that. It's easier to not unpack all of the complexities of, well, God, if I believe this, if I understand that 9/11 was not as it appears to be, then that opens up a can of worms where now I have to understand all these other things. And am I ready for that? Am I what am I going to do? This is all the things that people tell themselves. I'm just one person. What difference does it make if I know the ins and outs of 9/11? It's still going to happen anyway. I have to pick my kids up from school. I have to go to work. I have to do all this stuff. Yeah. You do. You have to do all that. But do you not want to understand how it all works? Because I do. Not because I have any sort of particular interest in, I don't think I'm going to be able to solve all the problems, but I want to understand how it works so that I can either avoid them, not contribute to them, try to fix them as much as I can, wake other people up. Like I want to know, even if I don't have any sort of path towards fixing it, it's just information that I feel like is important for me to know moving forward. Obviously I write books about it. So it matters to me, but even before that, I knew about 9/11, not because I was going to solve it or fix it or do anything like that, but because it felt important to know what the true story was, what the real story is. But I don't think a lot of people are ready to take on the burden of that, because to know that means you can't ever unknow it. And you sort of are stuck with that, with knowing about this. So you have to, you wind up feeling like you're either in or you're out. Are you going to be committed to figuring out the truth? Well, here's 9/11. Once you figure that out, then you're going to learn about some new concepts after that. Is that okay with you? You know, some people are like, I just, ignorance is bliss. I understand it fully. I don't respect it at all, but I understand the need for not wanting to dive into this stuff, because look, it'll change you. It'll change the way you see the world, maybe for the worse, maybe for the better. I don't know, but you're never going to be able to go back to thinking the way you thought before, especially like with 9/11. Like once you understand the depths to which your government will stoop in order to create a fake war or a war under false pretenses, then it becomes very obvious. Like, okay, there's no line that they won't cross. Anything is on the table. Injecting people with experimental poisons, of course they would do that. Why wouldn't they? There's evidence that they've been doing it for decades. Okay, so you have, if you want to take the trip, you know, you don't get to get off the roller coaster halfway through. You have to ride the whole thing, you know. And I think for a lot of people, they're just more comfortable watching.
And if you do ride it, there's levels to it, because we've met people that end up taking the red pill and then they want to red pill everybody. Everybody they know. Now
I think that's new conspiracy theorists.
Yeah, that's a brand new
they
one.
They want to be Paul Revere and be like, the lizard people are coming. And then you got to be like, hey, dude, that's not how this works. Mm-hmm. People find you.
Yep, there's
and
levels
they'll give
to
you, it. And they'll ask you. That's the only way you can do it. And then if you if you do this really, really correctly, you get to a point where you're like, oh, this is a spiritual war. This has nothing to do with their money and power, because they have that already. They can print all the money they want. Just think about all the money they've printed in the United States, and the U.S. dollar is crushing it right now. And all these other places are just shit in the bed, man. Yeah. Think about that.
And what are they going to do? With crypto, all you gotta do is print more money and give it to the right people. They buy crypto, now crypto goes down. I've just been thinking about how easy it is to manipulate
100%. Hey guys, if you love this podcast and you want to check out some of my other podcasts, I have 7 podcasts. One's called Broken Sim. That's the Grand Theft Auto podcast. And walk around LA looking for danger. Cash Daddies. Punch Drunk. One of my favorite shows out there, The Union of the Unwanted, which is probably the best conversation on the internet. And then some of my premium content, I put out old episodes so you can check it out. Conspiracy Social Club with Brian Callen, and Zero, my spiritual podcast. Just go to samtripoli.com. I also want to tell you about one of my favorite sponsors on Tinfoil Hat, and that's Bespoke Post. That's right. Take your summer adventures to the next level with Bespoke Post and their new seasonal lineup of must-have box of awesome collection. Bespoke Post partners with small businesses and emerging brands to bring you the most unique goods every month. Dude, did you guys get some? I got their Terror knife. The knife in the Terror box is made by Bare Bones Base in Salt Lake. I loved it. Did you guys get anything?
Yeah, I got the booze, the cast. Ooh, the whiskey. Fire.
It's nice. Fire. No matter what you have going on this season, Box of Awesome has you covered. From camping gear essentials to beach day and travel must-haves, okay? Box of Awesome has everything you need for summer, okay? To get started, take a quiz at boxofawesome.com. Your answer will help them pick the right box of awesome for you. They release new boxes every month across a ton of different categories. Each box is valued around $70, but you only pay a fraction of that price, okay? Plus, with each box of awesome, you're supporting small businesses, okay? 90% of everything that comes in your box of awesome is from a small up-and-coming brand. It's free to sign up, and you can skip a month and cancel at any time, okay? So here's what I need you to do. Get 20% off your first monthly box when you sign up at boxofawesome.com and enter the code tinfoil at checkout. That's boxofawesome.com, code tinfoil for 20% off your first box. boxofawesome.com, code tinfoil. Also, guys, excited to announce new sponsor alert! Yeah, that's right. Support for today's episode comes from True Classic. The brand new sponsor has the absolute best fitting t-shirts a man could ever buy, okay? Look at this, man. Chi-Chis look good, dude. Finding the right t-shirt is incredibly frustrating. Most t-shirts are either way too tight on your gut or way too big and boxy. You're not in high school anymore. It's time to upgrade, all right? True Classic has helped over 2 million men finally get a better fit at an affordable price. Our listeners get access to the best deals they offer. For a limited time only, get 25% off with the code tinfoil at trueclassic.com. Almost all men's t-shirts are designed to look good on skinny models with six-pack, but most of us aren't packing anything but a few beers. Fellas, you're wearing the wrong clothes. True Classic tees taper off towards the bottom, but they fit tighter around the chest, shoulders to make bigger guys look slimmer and slimmer guys look buffer. You heard it right. You look buffer and slimmer at the same time. It's an optical illusion. Okay, it's time to highlight your best attributes with a t-shirt you can always feel confident throwing on. Okay. I 100% struggle with t-shirts. You know, I got some chi-chi problems, okay? I have this picture of me with my daughter. We're laughing together, and I got a fat rack, bro.
Double D's?
Not with True Classic.
I saw it.
Yeah, dude, I got a fat rack, bro. But not with True Classic. I don't have to worry about that, man. Not at all, man.
Not only are you finally getting a t-shirt designed for the male body, but the first thing you'll notice out the bag is how soft it is. True Classic doesn't just stop at tees. They are your one-stop shop for men's essentials, from polos and workout shirts with the same flattering fit to boxer briefs designed with a pouch to keep your bulge nice and comfortable. All of their gear is top-notch quality at reasonable prices. And for any of the big boys out there, they also have long body options for the tall guys and up to triple XL on their staple colors. Whether you have abs or flabs like Sam, their clothes look great on all body types. Skinny dudes, big dudes, buff dudes, my dudes.
Or dumb dudes like Johnny, okay? So listen, here's what we go. It's about time you learn how to dress yourself properly. Upgrade your wardrobe with True Classic. Get 25% off at trueclassic.com with the code tinfoil. Free shipping included on your purchase on any purchase over $100. $100 risk-free guarantee for the first 30 days. That's their policy. Stay classy with True Classic. So I want to get into, Charlie, and then I want to talk about your video you put out, Where's the Bodies? But what I want to ask you is this. If you had to say what you thought went down on that day, because I got some new information that I think is pertinent. It isn't necessarily directly 9/11, but it's something that's happened in the past that fits into what I believe happened on 9/11. So, but Charlie, what do you think happened?
Okay, so I think let's define terms first. When you talk about false flag, I think there's some people that think that when you say false flag, that means that an event didn't happen or that it was fake. False flag just means that an event that's carried out using the other team's flag as your flag, meaning we're going to we're going to attack something. We're going to blame it on our enemies as the justification to then later go attack these enemies. So if you desperately want a war with somebody, but they won't engage in a fight with you, what you can do is you can sit around and wait for it to happen organically, or you can make it happen by pretending that the other side attacked you and then go and scream to the media and say, we were attacked. Isn't this terrible that we were attacked? We have to defend ourselves. Now we have their justification to go get these people that attacked us. Now, in reality, they never attacked you. You attacked yourself and blamed it on them and did a really good job of it and did that song and dance. And now everybody thinks that you got attacked. Now we've seen this happen in the lead up to World War II with the Reichstag fire and all this. This is not a new concept. This has been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So what do I think happened on 9/11? I think that America and America's allies wanted an excuse to remake the Middle East in their interests, which included the national security of several of our allies in the region, Israel, and Saudi Arabia. I think it also had implications towards mineral rights in Afghanistan, oil in all of the Middle East, but Iraq specifically, and a general understanding of breaking up countries that could become a threat in the region in the future. I think that 9/11 was both an inside and outside attack. It was conducted by the segment of the United States government, mostly known as the neocons, the Project for a New American Century. Many of those people are dual Israeli citizens. I believe that the Israeli intelligence services were deeply involved in 9/11, and I think that the Saudi intelligence services were involved as well, both financially and providing intelligence. I think between those three, there's additional support through the Pakistani ISI, their intelligence agencies.
Bingo.
And there were a lot of groups that knew what was going on in advance of it. And I think that the towers were brought down on purpose by us, meaning the West, U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia. They were brought down as a justification to launch the war on terror, or the war of terror, as it should more accurately be called. And I think that the wars were complete bullshit. They were started by the West to make a lot of people very rich, to make a lot of people very dead, and to destabilize a region so that we could remake it and control, to balkanize a region, split up Iraq into smaller chunks so that it's never a threat, eventually split up Iran into chunks, Syria, Libya. I mean, they gave away. I mean, ultimately, you look back on the list that they talk about, the 7 countries in 5 years list, and all those countries line up perfectly with this sort of concept. You've got the Project for a New American Century Declaration that was written in September of 2000, rebuilding America's defenses, where they talked about a catastrophic and catalyzing event like a new Pearl Harbor, and then the people that were responsible for writing that put the policies in place that benefited their party, their countries, and both Israel and the United States. And I think that's what I think that's 9/11 in a nutshell. Now, obviously, there's a ton of detail going into that. There's who did it, how was it done, what was the technology used, how long was it planned, all that. And we can obviously get into. You could do 100 episodes and never get to the bottom of all of that. But I think just as a brief summary, it just was not 19 Arab hijackers with box cutters. I think that people that believe that story are the same types of people that get those letters. Hello, dear sir. It is me, Prince Naheem in Iraq, and I need to move this money offshore. Can you help me? They make those phishing letters, phishing emails so disjointed and with poor grammar and bad spelling, because they know that if you believe it, if you respond to that, you're clearly dumb, right? You don't understand what's going on. And so they know they've got you on the hook for that. The 9/11 story is equally as dumb. It's just dumb. And it's been told so many times, and it's been ingrained in people's memories. And we've watched those snuff films of the towers coming down 1,000 times that psychologically traumatize people and makes you want to come up with an explanation to explain it all away. Tell me why the bad guys did this to us. It's like, well, it's just these terrorists over there. They hate us for our freedoms. And it's like, if you listen to that now, it sounds so laughable and insulting to your intelligence that you have to kind of re-examine it. So I think that 9/11, I think that if you do understand that the media and the government are capable of crafting a story like this, I know a lot of people say, oh, this is so big. How could you ever pull something off like this? Well, they didn't. They made a lot of mistakes. They made catastrophic mistakes with the messaging. They got caught in lies. They're announcing Building 7 going down 20 minutes before it actually goes down. It's over Jane Stanley's left shoulder where the building is still standing there, and she's talking about how it's collapsed into a pile of rubble. They made a lot of mistakes. They did get caught. So I think that for those that are kind of new to this area, re-examine 9/11 or look at it for the first time if you haven't. There's a lot to it. And And if you know it, I think it'll help you, sort of like a Rosetta Stone. It'll help you understand the other conspiracies by understanding how that one was put together, who the players were, why what's involved, how the media plays a role, how banking plays a role, and who the Project for a New American Century is, and why they thought that they had the right to start a war and spend trillions of dollars and kill millions of people in the name of, spreading democracy or whatever.
Yeah, I'm with you on all that. I always go even deeper on the sense of it, the lot of occult symbolism in there, the numbers of the planes, the 9/11, all those are like, we've done many episodes on it. Please go back and tinfoil hat 9/11, look up any, and you'll just hear there's no way this randomly happened. There's no way that the the most fortified airspace on planet Earth allowed these guys who couldn't even land like 2-engine planes, to do the greatest aviation miracle of all time. Like, it's impossible. And you're doing mental gymnastics to get you to believe that, because you don't want to believe that your own team could do this to you.
So before you drop your knowledge, are you still on your theory on what happened to the towers still? About the drone? Are you still? Are you okay? You got more stuff on that.
I got some shit.
Oh, okay, because that's your theory on that. No one was on the planes.
Here's what I think. This is, if you're asking Daddy what he thinks, okay? You're asking Conspiracy Daddy what he thinks. Okay? Conspiracy Poppy, what do you think?
Not calling you that.
Okay, you will call me this. Conspiracy Poppy, all right? Okay. So I believe that, and Charlie, I'd love to hear your opinion too, is that 9/11 was a combination of two different operations. A lot of people know about Operation Northwood, right? And we know that story. The story is very simple. The U.S. government, the CIA, wanted to get into a war with Cuba, so they were going to fake basically a false flag, what they call a high impact event. And that event was, they were going to say that there was a music festival going on in Cuba, and they were going to make a big to-do about this all-star band of college kids. We're going to go play there. They're going to have a big press event. The press is going to cover them taking off. Everyone sees them get on planes. They're going to take the plane off. They're going to land the plane somewhere else, and another plane is going to take off full of explosives and blow up. And I go, wow, that sounds a lot like what could have happened on 9/11. But you're like, Sam, but that doesn't sound totally alike. That, like, are you saying that there was no one on these flights and you're telling me what? And I'm like, well, I think it's possible they used drones that day. So the other day on my Tuesday Woo Day AMA that I do every Tuesday, well, it'd be weird if I didn't do it on Tuesday, but I do it on Tuesday on Rockfin. And this guy who hits me up all the time, he goes under the name Watch the Collapse. And good name. He's got Joe Biden in his profile pic. And, so he goes, Sam, and he's probably getting pissed because I'm talking about it right now, but Sam, let's do an episode on Operation Aphrodite. Have you heard of Operation Aphrodite, Charlie? Okay. No. So I went and I looked up Operation Aphrodite. Okay, and lo and behold, what is Operation Aphrodite? And I believe it was I think it's a Korean War, or it could have been the Nazi War, or World War II. So basically, the U.S. government used drones to fly planes into very heavily armored, secure locations. So back in World War II, they had the technology.
So they mixed them.
So they combine, in my humble opinion, they combined them. We know that the Israeli art students were in the buildings for 4 years prior to 9/11. And so I've always said this. My good friend is Steve Renazizi. I've always said this. That's hilarious that Steve, of everybody on the cast of The League, that Steve Renazizi gets more shit than anybody else. Because Kroll Industries was the security company that was in charge of the buildings. Am I right on that?
Yes.
So he basically was in charge. As we know, Kroll Industries is a private black ops corporation. They're basically private Mossad.
Yeah.
And they, for 4 years, art students were just lining that building with detonations. If you listen,
It was empty. The whole building was supposed to be empty at one point. That it wasn't working out.
like, so are you like Human Vibration that there was nobody? And I'm not saying that in jest. I'm saying that honestly.
Not completely empty, but I did hear there was a lot of the offices where they weren't occupied. No one was using them for offices. So if they're empty, it's like, yo, throw some bombs in there. Might as well.
Interesting.
Sorry, go ahead.
Jump
Oh
in,
no, go
Sean.
ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
No, I would just say quickly that I don't think they gave enough of a shit about anybody to they're fine killing people. You know what I mean? Those buildings were loaded. I really believe that because they don't give a shit about people.
Right.
That's more impact for their operation.
Yes.
If more people are there.
Yes, that lowers vibration.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that trips me out about how I like your drone theory is how was there phone calls being made?
It's all bullshit. But real quick, Charlie, then we'll get to that part.
Yeah.
Charlie, what'd you
Two
have to say?
things. First, are you familiar with Stewart Air Force Base in New York?
No.
The planes crossed, their beacons crossed at Stewart Air Force Base and then turned off. So that is a private. It was a private base. It had been privatized just a year earlier by Governor Pataki, and it is believed that the planes landed at Stewart Air Force Base and were then mimicked by drones that were flown out. Are you familiar with the Boeing Honeywell uninterruptible autopilot system?
No, talk to me about that. I would have fucking XG write that down, but good luck on getting that spelling.
Okay.
Boeing what?
Boeing Honeywell uninterruptible autopilot is a
What's up?
embedded software and satellite communication that prevents pilots from being hijacked. So it was set up in these airplanes so that if, let's just say that a pilot is getting hijacked and they take over the cockpit and a guy says, the guy gives the code. He says, we're being hijacked, we're being taken somewhere. It can be remotely activated by somebody not on the plane that can make the controls basically unusable. And you can fly the plane like a drone. I want to read you something. This is from my Octopus of Global Control book. This is from John Croft from Flight Global. The uninterruptible autopilot would be activated either by pilots, by onboard sensors, or even remotely via radio or satellite links by government agencies like the Central Intelligence Agency if terrorists attempt to gain control of a flight deck. To make it fully independent, the system has its own power supply, independent of the aircraft circuit breakers. The aircraft remains in automatic mode until after landing when mechanics or government security operatives are called in to disengage the system. So you said that you think that the planes could have been flown like drones. Well, in fact, this is how they would be flown like drones because they all had this Boeing Honeywell uninterruptible autopilot installed in them.
Dude, pieces, bro. Pieces coming together, bro.
I like that little dance you did.
Pieces, bang, bang. We're putting pieces of the puzzle
It
together.
looks like girls scissoring each other.
Yeah,
every time you do
anyways.
that.
Anyways. So
Hey, but do you think
Operation Aphrodite fits into Boeing Honeywell uninterrupted autopilot.
Is
That's
there any
incredible.
way they could have used this on the Malaysian flight that disappeared?
100%.
100%. Like how soon? I mean, if they see a plane just going, and they're like, dude, this guy's diving this thing. Boom, they click this on, they take it over.
If it was a Boeing plane.
Okay, if it was a Boeing.
But and I'm not a airline mechanic or engineer, and I don't know if there's similar systems that work on Airbus, but this specifically was for, and this system, by the way, this existed well before 9/11. So this isn't some new device that just came out recently or anything. This has been around for a long time. They knew that this was how you would control an airplane remotely. And on top of that, I just did an episode of macroaggressions that came out where I took a different view at this. So I went and pulled up the videos of the remote viewers doing their sessions on 9/11, and one of the scenes that they studied was a cockpit scene, and the viewers are drawing the pilots, and they're saying, well, the pilots are standing there, or they're sitting there, and they've got the controllers, but the controllers don't work. They're going, we can't do anything with the controllers. They won't turn. They won't do anything. They're just dead. And that would be consistent with having the plane taken over remotely as well.
Well, there's a lot more to that too. Does anybody here honestly believe that a plane full of grown men and adults allowed, how many hijackers were there on each plane?
2, right?
2, 3?
There were supposed to be, there were 5 on each, but only 4 on one. Alleged, so it'd be 5, 5, 5, and 4.
So you got
one guy
5 dudes.
Overslept or
5
something.
dudes. 5 dudes. One dude overslept. So let's just say that we're going to believe hijackers took the plane over, right? 5 dudes with box cutters took over a plane of, how many are on a plane, a Boeing plane? 200 people? Let's say half of that are men. 100 guys, when you realize the plane is taken over, are going to allow dudes with tiny knives to control everything? Like, if you're going to die, why not go out trying? Like, is that what you want me to believe?
No, they want you to believe let's roll.
Yeah, and then nothing happens.
To believe the let's roll. That's so Hollywood, man. That's perfect for them. Like
they were making
there are only 44 people on the Let's Roll plane, according to this. 44 people on board, 2 pilots, 5 flight attendants, 33 passengers, and 4 hijackers on that plane.
Still, dude. A bunch of chicks.
No, that's the one that they did take down. Only had 44 on it. I'm saying the one that they.
Oh
did,
yeah.
quote,
Oh
unquote,
god,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's even more crazy. The story makes no sense, dude. The story makes no sense.
How are they going to defend themselves when they're calling their wives, telling them, hey, we're going to die?
Hey, we're just gonna sit here and hope this all works out. So
92, including 5 hijackers on the one that.
And then,
one
dude,
of the ones that crashed in Trade Center.
then on top of that, 2 celebrities just happened not to make their flight that day, who have both gone on to be billionaires.
Yeah, and then you also have James Woods, who was on the flight with the hijackers, like the test flight the week before, and reported it to the FBI. Do you remember reading that?
Yeah. Oh my God.
so
how
many
lucky
coincidences.
is that?
They stole that from the Titanic, though.
What? Oh yeah.
The Rothschilds,
yeah.
like, you guys go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm sick. You guys go.
JP Morgan, dude, I can't make it.
You guys go.
I ate a tamale last night. I can't get on the boat. Can't get on the Titanic, dog.
My Titanic. It's his, too, by the way. He's like, no, it's
I
okay.
can't make it. I'll ride it another time. It's mine.
Yeah, because those guys love to fly commercial routes, the commercial commuter jets from. The idea that they were even gonna be on this plane is kind of silly, really.
It's so ridiculous, Johnny. You're totally right. They're huge. They're huge at this point. Yeah. What are they riding? Fucking coach?
I know it doesn't. Like they at least have like one of those jet share sort of things. Those were kicking around that time.
So you think he's in on it? They just told me, just say you were going to be on this plane and we'll take care of you.
It is of my belief that they get people to play ball, and they give them so much money that it's not worth their while to ever come out with the truth. That they bribe these people to the tunes of hundreds and hundreds of millions.
And if that doesn't work, they have other ways.
No, and not only that, how would you look if you finally came out and said, honestly, I took the money?
You're right.
No, you're a piece of shit. No one would love you no more. Your shows are done. Every cartoon you ever wrote would be done. Everything's over.
Yeah, but not even that works. You still got to have insurance for the deathbed confession, that's the family. That's the family element, the blackmail element. They'll ruin your legacy, that whole thing.
And what happens when you do come out and you start to go off reservation? They off you. Look at all these rappers that get pushed forward, pushing a certain narrative, right? And then they decide they get big enough, they don't want to do it anymore. Oh, dude, you're not going to become huge off our system and then decide to go do your own shit.
And then, not that he didn't think it was going to be this big, but imagine like some company comes up to you like, just say you were on this plane. Just say you were supposed to be on this plane. Don't worry about it. Just someone's going to come up to you and be like, oh my God, I was supposed to be on this plane and I did it. And now we're still talking about it to this day that you were supposed to be on this fucking plane.
And I might lose some new listeners here, but Magic Johnson had a giant press conference where he had AIDS. What's up with that? And now he's a billionaire. Right? I mean, I made it off of movie theaters and TGI Fridays, It's like, oh, wow. I'm just saying there's a pattern. There's a pattern to this with these people that are kind of the face of certain narratives. They end up becoming billionaires. I mean, a great example of this is the Winklevoss twins, right? From the Facebook story. Like, hey, this guy stole our idea. Wow. We're going to be the bad guys for a little while. Wow. Oh, we're the first ever Bitcoin billionaires. Wow. That's kind of convenient. You're just always in front of that, huh? Damn. The first ever Bitcoin billionaires. That's why you shut up and you play ball. Charlie, any thoughts on that? Or am I just some crazy man yelling?
No. Believe me, I thought about the same thing too. You guys are going to take 65 million from Zuckerberg. If you rightly had ownership over Facebook, you're going to take a little bit of stock in 65 million and you're going to be fine with that, knowing that this is going to be a $100 billion plus dollar company. That's crazy to me. But they're also, who negotiated that? Larry Summers, the president of Harvard. Right.
Yeah.
And who's a Clintonite, best friends with Epstein. Okay. So he's the guy that negotiated this whole thing with the Winklevoss twins too. So they're already swimming in a sea with some sharks, if you know what I mean.
100%. And you just create the narrative that this was a real thing that this guy just did so he could meet chicks on campus. It just happened to come out the same day that the Pentagon stopped LifeLog. Like, they're not even that original. That they can't even wait a day to... Well, someone's like, dude, do I have to wait? I'm here at the office. Can I just register this idea? No one's going to know whether there's going to be a permanent record. People are going to look into it. What do they know, right?
Well, look, we're doing a intelligence agency conducted project called the Facebook, and we need you Winklevoss twins to shut the fuck up and get out of the way, because there's a lot going on here that you don't know about. We'll make it worth your while. You guys go stand over there, shut your mouths. We'll give you some money. We'll put you in a position where everything is fine, but you have to be out of the way because there's a much bigger operation that you don't know about that has to do with LifeLog and Zuckerberg and Gates and all of these people. It's about collecting information. And if you stand in the way of this, you're going to screw up the CIA's program. So you're either going to move out of the way voluntarily with some really nice jewelry, a whole lot of money, or we will move you out of the way.
Yes.
The choice is yours, the silver or the lead.
Yep. That's the Mexican, the cartel saying, plata plomo, either you fucking...
We do it your way or our way, but either way, it's our way.
Yeah.
Okay?
Silver sounds better. Oh, you're going to get me into Bitcoin? Sure. And then I don't have to deal with Zuckerberg anymore? Fine, give me the money. Yeah, just shut my mouth. I'm sure they took the deal. Obviously, they took the deal.
100%. And I think if you go deep enough, I bet you the Winklevoss twins have some kind of connection to these families that run everything.
Listen, guys, you're going to look like assholes in a movie, but that's it. That's the only thing you have to worry about. The rest of your life is set. If you just...
And these chicks aren't going to care when you're a Bitcoin billionaire, bro. You're going to be banging all the thoughts, dog. No one's going to care. No one's gonna care. So it all doesn't make sense. I love Charlie because not only did I butcher his podcast name, which is macroaggressions. I said microaggressions, but I also butchered his giant episode that he did, which is called "Where Did All the People Go?" Tell me about where did all the people go? Because I had so many people hitting me up about it, Charlie, and I feel I gotta say this, Charlie. I don't. Did you have a podcast when you first came on Tinfoil Hat way back in the day in the original?
No.
So you grew this, man. You've become a great podcaster, dude. You're
thank
really
you.
good at this. You're very level-headed, and I feel like you're growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm super happy for you, man. And
thank you. I appreciate that. I have to share some credit with Tony Merkel. He is my partner on the show, and he runs the confessionals, as you know. He wanted me to say hi to everybody. He knows, he's a stickler for audio, and he understands the engineering component to it, and he does all the technical things, and he's the one that says, this is what you need. You need to be on a schedule, and you need to stick to it, and you need to deliver, and you can't miss these dates. So he taught me he taught me sort of the professional side of that. But I do appreciate that, Sam. It's nice to hear.
We're big Tony Merkel fans here on Tinfoil Hat. Yeah. We love him. I have to retweet some of his videos. I love what he's doing. I think he's somebody who's you're just going to see just build an empire because he's so super focused, and his information's great. We're still trying to find out about that book he told us about.
We've been talking about how Mount Crushmore is not going to be 4 people.
Yeah,
we're
going to have to
many
open
motherfuckers.
It to 8 people, dude. It's our mountain, dude. We can put as many faces on there as we want. But the episode is, where did all the people go? What is the episode about? And tell us a little bit about what you discovered.
Well, I almost didn't do it. And this comes from part of Tony's influence on this as well. Is I said, Tony, I have an idea for a show, but I don't even know if I want to do it because it's so dark. It creates a lot of it's based around speculation. There's facts, of course, but I want to think about what happens if the SPARS pandemic document that came out in 2017 is actually correct, and it plays out the way it plays out in the simulation, which is millions of people dead from the vaccine. What happens? I was very careful to do all the sort of qualifying of, I don't want this to happen. I'm not trying to put this energy out there into the universe. I'm just asking, if we've got a bunch of simulations, we've got a Deagel company that speculated years ago that the populations of almost the entire world were going to drop by 2025. And some people say, well, that's not true. That's not a true thing. Well, the company's true. I hope that their figures are wrong, obviously, but the website existed and the numbers were there. So what happens if Deagel is right? What happens if SPARS is right? What happens if Event 201 plays out, given a long enough timeline, the way they said it would play out, 65 million dead? What happens? What do we do? So how does that affect us as a society? How does that affect us economically? How does it affect us strategically? What happens if the Deagel numbers are right, and I hope they're not, but if they are, the population of the United States goes from 330 million down to 99 million by 2025. We're not prepared for that. What does that mean? So what I did was I went and I grabbed all the data I could from the CDC to get their vaccination statistics about who is taking the shots in the age ranges, in the states, and then expanded out even further and pulled in the data from all the different countries. And what I found was unbelievably disturbing. And that was, the more vaccinated you were as a country, the higher the chances the larger amount of your population was disappearing according to the Deagel documents. Okay. So I looked at, and conversely, the countries that were the least vaccinated, and they were sort of obscure ones: Sudan, Congo, Kenya, Madagascar, Iraq, Afghanistan,
black
Papua New
countries.
Guinea, Yemen. All these countries, they didn't get the shots. They didn't get them at a rate that was, I should say they didn't get them. They didn't get the full court press. They barely took them. When you look at the Deagel document of the countries that didn't lose population but actually gained them, you go, well, what are those countries? It's Sudan, Congo, Kenya, Madagascar, Iraq, Afghanistan, Papua New Guinea, Yemen. It's the same ones. Whoa. And I went, okay, that's alarming to me. Now, again, Corbett has debunked Deagel. He said it's not true. It's not a real thing. I hope he's right. A million percent. I don't want any of this to be, I'm not trying to make this happen. But look, we've got 3 different classifications with regards to these shots that are happening. We've got short-term side effects, medium-term, and long-term. The short-term, from 0 to 30 days, is classified as blood clots, myocarditis, strokes, heart attacks, abortions, and pulmonary embolisms. That's in the first 30 days. We've seen those, right? Medium term, this is 1 month to 12 month. You've got another set of factors that are affecting people. VAIDS, vaccine acquired immune deficiency syndrome, vaccine AIDS, basically. Antibody dependent enhancement. We've got autoimmune reactions, heart failures, and prion-like neurological destruction. So that's what's happening within a year. But now there's another category we have to look at, which is long-term. That's 1 year, from 1 year to 10 years. And we haven't hit these benchmarks yet. But these are the things that could be in our future, which includes spike protein-induced chromosomal damage. We've got cancers, which we're already seeing, infertility, which we're already seeing, severe immunodeficiencies, suppressed DNA repair, and fatal autoimmune disorders. So if these side effects of the vaccine are real, and we have no reason to think that they aren't real because we're already starting to see them, we have the potential over the next decade for there to be a catastrophe. And my question is, are we going to pretend like this isn't happening, or are we going to have the conversation? Are we going to look into what does this mean if all of a sudden all the airline pilots are gone, all the truckers are gone, all the school teachers, all the liberal, hardcore left, West Coast, hardcore liberal, East Coast, New York City, Boston, all that area of there, they're all vaccinated. The most heavily vaccinated part of the United States is the Northeast, that Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut area, top 5 most vaccinated places. What happens if 75% of the people there are all gone in 10 years? What does that look like for society? So I wanted to have that conversation, and it's dark as dark can get. Okay. Admittedly, it is taking you to a place that is very uncomfortable, but Sam, you do a good job of talking about the truth, what's really going on out there. So I feel like it's time to have that conversation. What is it going to look for us strategically? If all of a sudden America's lost all its military's gone, they're all instructed to be vaccinated, and now they're all sick or dead.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real good question, and it's an important question. And for me, man, so I'm a big fan of Derek Bronze. He's does great work. He's been on the show before. He wrote something interesting in his. He looks like he might have lost his Twitter, but I think he wrote something interesting about how both sides are kind of using scare tactics. And one thing he says that, people said they were going to die from the vaccine, and we're not seeing that. And this is not, again, I'm a huge fan of Derek Bronze, and I was like, oh, is that true? Are we not seeing people dying? Because I know people that have told me that I had a woman on Rothy. She was on Zero. Her father, totally healthy, got vaccinated, died.
I know people personally who died. Yeah.
So my question is, is it a scare tactic, or is it really happening, and just the mechanism in which the information gets out is not letting that information out? And again, this is not. I'm a big fan of Derek, and I loved him on the show, and there's an open door policy. So I'm just asking, is that true? Are people not dying? Because my belief is they are dying.
Well, now the people I know that have died, their families say they got COVID, but I mean.
But did they die of? Go on, Charlie. Sorry.
There is a where you want to get that information. Obviously, is not from the mainstream media, and maybe, if to be fair, maybe not even from the alternative media. Maybe you want to get it from the most boring people in the world, the life insurance companies. Why don't we talk to them? What are they seeing? Well, they didn't see a 40% spike in deaths in 2020 when COVID was rampaging through. When they saw it? They saw it in 2021 when the vaccines rolled out. They saw a spike in deaths that was a once in a 200-year event. Then that just started then, and it's starting to ramp up even more. Now you're having embalmers and morticians pulling large blood clots out of people. We're seeing that everywhere. But the life insurance policy holders, the people that study actuary tables that are, they can break it down to such a mathematical certainty that it's almost impossible to lose money in the insurance business. That's why those companies get to be so big. It's all math. You take the emotion out of it, and it's just math. This is how many people we've got. This this is when they average, when they die, there'll be some outliers, but if you run enough people in through the group, it'll all average out and it'll get to a specific age range where these people die, and this is how much we can charge, and this is how much we make money, and these are the profit years, and this is, they have it all figured out. Life insurance is very predictable until you introduce something unpredictable like the COVID vaccine, and then you have a 40% spike in all-cause mortality that these people are saying specifically did not come from COVID. They said it's not COVID that's doing this. It is something else. And they are saying that they believe it's the shots now. And I believe it's the shots as well. The thing is, one of the things that sort of benefited us in the alternative media with regard to the shots is that pre-COVID, I've written books about the dangers of the pharmaceutical industry and the VAERS court and the vaccine damage that happens for MMR shots and HPV shots and things like that. So the idea that the pharmaceutical industry is some bastion of health and safety is preposterous, right? We know that they're criminals. It's a criminal drug cartel run by all convicted felons. Every top 10 big pharma company operating inside the United States, they're all convicted felons. Okay, let's start with that. They're all convicted felons in courts of law for felonies. Okay, so that's where we're coming from. They have a very dangerous product called vaccines. Doesn't hurt every kid every single time with every shot, but it does hurt people. So this going into COVID. So we have our antennas up and we're watching for this. And they kept saying, oh, well, as soon as we get the vaccine, then everyone will be fine. Everyone will be saved. And we're going, that's not how it works. We know that this is going to be a big problem. So we already knew going in to keep an eye on the vaccine. And then 2020 comes, COVID rolls out, then 2021 comes, and then the vaccine rolls out. And then you started to see the very unnatural, almost cartoonish push, like, well, Krispy Kreme donuts for life, or 2 laps around Talladega Speedway, or lottery tickets, or lap dances, or whatever the fuck it is to incentivize people to get these shots was inconsistent with reality. If you were facing an actual pandemic, there'd be bodies stacked up on the street. Yep. And you'd be like, I need to, whatever will save me from being that. I need to get that. That wasn't happening. They went into ridiculous used car salesman mode where it's like, everything must go. What can I do? What's it going to take to get you into this vaccine today? And you're like,
hey man, you get the shot, you get a studies? Budweiser. You want Budweiser, man? To get this shot, you'll get a free Bud Light, man. Come on.
I'll settle for this. How about the company that manufactures the vaccine? How about we not allow them to hide what's in it for 65 years?
Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Right there.
That sounds reasonable to me. So look, the shots are a contributing factor at the bare minimum. And I think if we're being totally honest about it, they're the root cause of this whole problem. Now, COVID can really destroy your immune system and cause some problems for you, or, and again, the audience that was getting it, overweight, poor health, poor nutrition, high stress, this is a recipe for heart attacks just on a normal day. But then you throw in a respiratory virus on top of that and the panic that came along with it. You were going to catch a lot of really fragile people and sort of finish them off with this. But now the vaccine is out. And when you've got life insurance companies telling you we're seeing huge problems with this, then I think it's worth paying attention. And I know, I mean, I like Derek Brose's work too. I think he does outstanding work. And look, we're allowed to not all agree on this too. That's fine. But I see problems with where we are with this shot. I see another simultaneous problem, which is this denial. From the people that are like, everything else is causing these deaths. It's climate change. It's whatever sort of ridiculous idea they come up with. It's got to be something else. It can't be the shot. They just refuse to acknowledge that it's the shot. So that to me, I'm suspicious that way. I noticed that, and I want to figure out what they're trying to hide. So I think that we've got a problem, and I think the shot is the problem. And I hope that we can have the conversation, because if people are unwilling or unable to have the conversation that the shots are part of this problem, we're never going to get anywhere. You'll be on your 8th booster shot and everyone will still be saying this goddamn climate change is just going to get us all.
I mean, it's just unbelievable. Now, I do agree with Derek Browns on a situation that I do believe there's sometimes some hysteria in the conspiracy community.
Yeah.
And, it's like we always make fun of, the left eats itself alive. That's the same thing with the conspiracy community. If I hear another dude going, dude, you don't keep it real like me. You want to keep it real? Check out my podcast. I keep it real. You want some real information, bro? Dude, you should check out my podcast. It's like, okay, dude, gotcha, man. I mean, you're really saying that out loud to other people? Like, what? Just put out positive energy, brother. Good shit will happen.
Chill.
But it's like it gets kind of crazy how like everybody's controlled opposition, everything's this, end of the world's coming, all this stuff all the time. I do think something's going on with this vaccine for sure, and because we are hearing from people that healthy people are dying, we're hearing it for sure. We know they're trying to go to cashless. We know that. We know they want that. We know they want us, dumb, unhealthy, scared, high anxiety, low frequency. We know they want to do that. The question is it inevitable? And I 100% believe it's not. And that we would already be there if they could do it. It would, boom. Does that mean they can't do it in the future? No. I mean, they don't care if they do it in this lifetime.
I think they're just chipping at it.
I think they are, but I think people are waking up to it, though. And what's happening is they're going to start having to break their own rules. And I think that's where they get in trouble, because now they're fucking with things bigger than themselves, right? Like the whole part of this whole spiritual thing is that they have to get our approval. They must get us to manifest letting them in, letting them do their stuff. That's what 9/11 was about. It was a manifestation ritual. Manifest us to be able to go, that there's a threat in the Middle East that we have to go annihilate. Manifest that. Manifest that there's such a deadly disease out there that you have to take this experimental vaccine. Manifest that. But every time they do this playbook, it's less and less likely they can pull it off again on a very big scale. And I think they're running out of shit. I could be wrong, but that's just me. I mean, and we get into who runs the world and all this shit. I mean, for me, the most shocking thing in the world is how it's now coming out that Israeli freaking government officials knew that the vaccine was dangerous and still forced their own population to take it. And why is that such a shame? Because they're Jew World Order, Jew World Order. That's all I hear. Well, really? If they're the chosen, why are they making their own freaking people do it? And not giving it to the Palestinians? You remember they're like, nah, Palestinians, you can't get this, bro. This is ours. And yet when they knew who killed. Like, it's crazy.
They had to be drinking their own Kool-Aid on that one. Because you would have rightly just been like, oh, let's bury the hatchet with our Palestinian neighbors. Let's make sure that we include them in this magic potion that we've got. In fact, let's let them go first, you know. But they didn't do that. They mandated it for their own people, and it just goes to show that look, nobody is off limits here. These people in positions of high power, they don't give a fuck about any of you. Yes. They will kill all of us. They are the chosen people, they believe, and their group is going to survive. And if they have to thin the herd and get rid of some people and break some eggs to make the omelet, or however you want to phrase it, they're going to do it. They have no problem doing it. If they have to create toxic vaccines and send that out to people, you either figure this out or you don't. You know, and you either fall for the propaganda or you don't. You either believe that there's a thing called SADS, sudden adult death syndrome, or you don't. You know, and if you're willing to believe these lies, these easily constructed lies that people are dying from climate change or SADS, then you are going to find yourself eventually getting cold.
Charlie, what'd you call that?
Figure it out.
What'd you call that? SADS? Is that what
sudden adult death syndrome?
Is that what I would consider Bob Saget got?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of weirdness with that.
That was weird.
Dude.
His head, he hits his head. He just randomly hits his head.
Not just him, like the blunt force of a bat swinging in your head. And you're found peacefully in your
And
bed.
then you go, and, oh, yeah, I just smashed my skull. I'm going to go take a little nap and fold my hands, and just kinda
perfectly.
yeah.
And then,
As you do.
yeah, I
you
mean,
have
there's a
brain damage.
lot to that is super weird. Super weird.
I think though a more accurate description would be the people that just go to sleep and don't wake up. Like not Bob Saget necessarily, but like the 21-year-old college football player, or all these things. This is sudden adult death syndrome. Like you're just dropping dead for some reason. Now, interesting to note that if it sounds a lot like SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, that's not accidental, because you remember there's all of a sudden there was this new syndrome that was killing people, killing babies. It was sudden infant death syndrome. Just these babies up and died for some reason. We can't figure out what it is. We don't know why it was. Well, what it was that this was happening after their 18-month and 24-month wellness checks where they were getting all their vaccines. They were going home and dying. And they were saying, well, we can't blame the vaccines because there goes that industry. So we're going to call it something else. Let's just call it, I don't know, sudden infant death syndrome, and just throw our hands up and go, we don't know what's causing it. And then everyone went, it's the vaccines. Well, here we go. 20 years later, we have COVID vaccines roll out and people just turn up dead. And I remember saying, well, they're going to call it SAD, sudden adult death syndrome. And no shit, they actually rolled that out. And I thought, they're not very creative,
They're not.
It's really a dumb move because they're going to draw attention right back to SIDS. And some parents are going to start asking questions about SIDS, and they're going to go, wait a second. So this wasn't just some random bad luck I had. It actually might've been tied to the vaccines. Ah, yes, you're right over the target.
Yeah, and then it's going to get worse the longer it's been since you got the vaccine. If it's been 5 years, you get a vaccine, you get a heart attack. It'd be like just random heart attack. Guy's unlucky, dude. Guy's unlucky. Dude, he worked out every day, but unlucky.
Just unlucky, dude. So Dana, who was like, who still believes that Russians colluded with fucking Trump. I'm trying not to say the F word. I'm sorry, guys. But colluded with Trump to rig the election. Still believes it because MSNBC won't tell her different. She was telling me that there's now warnings, guys, that they got a new flu shot that's coming out that has like 4 that does all the variants in one shot.
The COVID variant as well?
No. All the flu variants. And they say if you get that and the booster, it's literally like you're playing Russian roulette. Your body can't handle that.
The flu shot. I mean, who's getting the flu shot anyway? When they admit that it doesn't work.
Don't even get me started. Don't even get me started.
I mean, dude, honestly, it's bad marketing because it does. They even say, "Hey, the flu shot doesn't really." We're right like 10% of the time.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. But I mean, that's what they're talking about, man. And look at this. What's the best time to get a flu shot? You got some hot chick going, "Hey, man, if you get a flu shot, I'll get a flu shot." It's ridiculous, right? It's just
MSN,
crazy.
It's another one of those zombie brands, dude. MSN is telling us this news about.
Yeah, that's what they do. Yahoo, MSN, it's just like these are brands nobody cares about. So they use, but they still have name recognition.
And it's a story from the Miami Herald. It's not even someone they just took information from another outlet and stuck it in MSN.
And so they don't want to destroy their brands anymore because. Like, here's the problem, man. They're losing. I think they're losing the information battle personally, and they're starting to realize it. Why do you think all these companies, these streaming services, are now basically killing off all this woke shit before it? I mean, they have it all shot and edited, ready to go. They're like, nope, we're not putting it out because it's not about losing money. Everybody always thinks it's about they're losing money. They don't care. They just print money. It's not about that. It's about. They're losing the reach. It's not influencing people anymore. And that's what it's all about. And what's always been all about is being able to brainwash you, to program you into believing this shit. And it's not working because nobody's watching it. Amazon.
Well, they have nobody to blame but themselves for their failure to retain an audience. So CNN's lost 91% of their audience since Trump left. You can't retain an audience by lying to them constantly and expecting them to stick around. So whether it's the mainstream media or whether it's Hollywood or whatever, there's only so much the audience will take. They will vote with their attention. They will vote with their dollars. They will go somewhere else. And if you want to go, get woke, you run the risk of going broke. And these media companies are doing that. They've lost their influence. They used to have so much influence when it came to the nightly news, like our parents' generations, they listen to, Tom Brokaw and everything, and he's going to tell you what the news is in 30 minutes. And like, oh man, it seems reasonable what he's saying. In fact, because it was reasonable what he was saying. We all know about Operation Mockingbird. We know the CIA infiltrated it, but it was less obvious back then. The varsity team was running it back then. Now we've got like the junior varsity or maybe even the freshman team running CNN, and their lies don't make any sense. They've overplayed their hand. They've squandered what little goodwill they had left, and nobody believes them anymore because they keep trying to tell you that the emperor is wearing clothes, and you're going, I can see that the emperor shit his pants during a conversation with the Pope. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't believe this anymore. You can do that for so long, and then at some point, it has no power anymore, and that's where we are. The media is losing their power over the general public, but they're not going to go down without a fight. So I think we're in a dangerous time, especially coming up with these elections, midterm elections, and then 2024. I would expect the media to try and go all in. It's double or nothing, because if they lose and Trump gets in, it's going to be, it's going to be a mess for them. So they've got to try and retain some credibility, which is impossible for them. So I'm cheerleading the collapse of the mainstream media. They couldn't happen to a nicer bunch of people.
So back in the early 90s, I would say, was maybe the early 90s or the mid 90s. I remember seeing, Johnny, was it when did Britney Spears come out?
Late 90s, early 2000s, around there.
So I remember in the late 90s seeing Britney Spears on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine.
98 was Hit Me Baby One More Time.
And I go, okay, that's not a good sign. And this was right after, Bill Clinton did something that nobody understood. He deregulated that. I realized, does it say the date on there?
99. It was 99.
99?
Yeah.
That's the one where you can see her.
Yeah. And like, oh my God. It's belly, yeah. So I knew that was a sign of things were changing. And this was just off the heels of Bill Clinton deregulating the media. And everyone was really upset with Bill Clinton when he did that, because they go, why are you doing it? It makes no sense. And now we know why. Because these investment banks were going to buy up everything, and five entities were going to own 90% of the media, right? So what happened was, after that, that's when we started to see entertainment change. And it stopped becoming about what the people wanted and what the artists wanted to create for the people. And it became, how do we make the suits happy? Mm-hmm. And the suits were taking orders from the fucking tops of these 5 groups that own everything. And then it became cultural Marxism. And it started really slowly, and everyone's like, kind of, what's up with that? But we just kept going through it, and they started doing it slowly. But as every generation comes through, they have to push it a little farther. And now we're in the full-on cultural Marxism, right? Like, this is where we're at. And guess what? People have decided they don't want to listen to it. They don't want to watch it anymore. The new Lord of the Rings on Amazon, they spent $1 billion on that. Nobody's watching it.
And everybody who is watching it is complaining.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you get back to Game of Thrones. I mean, the House of Dragon, which has a lot of woke shit into it, but it's done in a way that you're like, okay, I'll
put up with it.
I'll put up with this. Yeah. It's not shoved down your throat.
I got my eyes open. I know what they're
doing.
We've
had one good sex scene, by the way. A little bit more. Wrap it up. This is what we're into here. This is why we like Game of Thrones.
No, this is why it's on HBO. You're allowed to.
Yeah, right. Go for it. But I mean, it's not woke to like this stuff that they've been talking about, and They're losing their ability. I mean, like, and I'm not just talking about Democrats. Trump tried to. You remember when Trump, and I bring this up all the time, so everyone's like, "Yeah, we remember it." But when Trump tried to drag us into war with Iran because we shot down they shot down one of our drones. Our drones. The drone's family misses their drone dad. We gotta go do something. And everyone's like, "Nah, dude, we saw you did this with Iraq. We're not getting into it." And I think it's harder now. They're just doing wars. What are your thoughts on the Ukraine? I'm really starting to think it's a wag the dog.
It's over?
Well, it's as fake as a $3 bill, that's for sure.
Damn!
I mean, there's certainly stuff going on there, but in terms of like who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, we have to give them more money. Look, it's rightly called a money laundering operation. There's just too much money flowing through that. It's one of the most corrupt countries in the world, and they have legitimate complaints, and they have a long history with Russia that we should be nowhere involved in. But we're interested in creating conflict there. So of course we fund these proxy wars because we want to fight Russia without actually fighting Russia. And how is that working out for everybody involved? Well, it's working out great for Russia. Russia's fine. They've never been better. Their economy's strong. They've got Europe on their knees. They can do whatever they want. This has been a catastrophe for America. But of course, it's perfectly on brand for the Biden administration and NATO too. They just can't seem to get it right. They're just bumbling morons. Every chance they get, they go in and start something, and they're talking about Donald Trump playing 3D chess and everything like that. The Biden administration is playing Chinese checkers, and they're getting beaten badly by Putin, who may actually be a little bit more strategic than the West, and has turned this into an embarrassment for the Western forces, the Western media, especially all those dipshits with Ukrainian flags in their Twitter bios. They ought to be feeling pretty stupid right now.
They don't, Charlie. They don't.
What's that?
They don't. They don't feel stupid because they've already moved on to other things. Now they're worried about fucking having to have a kid after sexual assault. That they don't care. I mean, I should be getting a fucking parade down Hollywood Boulevard on my way to my next set at the Comedy Store for how right I've been about everything. Do you think anybody's one dude goes like, "You're right about everything"? Tony Hinchcliffe. That's it. Nobody else has been like, "Hey, bro, we thought you were a crazy person. It turns out you're right about everything." They will never go back. Their egos will never allow them to look back at the record. That's the difference between conspiracy theorists and everybody else. We keep a permanent record. We remember what they did, and then we see the clues that they're doing it again. These people will never do that. That would be admitting you're wrong, and everyone wants to believe they have a great bullshit meter, and they don't. So It will never happen. They'll never admit they're wrong.
They're agenda piranhas. They just, whatever the new agenda is, they go into it. They just destroy it in a big group, never even stopping to consider the ramifications of it, to look into whether what they're saying is true or false or anything. They just know they're on the winning team, and they like that feeling of being on the winning team. And then somebody makes a decision as, well, we're kind of off of Ukraine now. Now we're more pivoting to whatever the new thing is. Now electric cars. Now it's all about electric cars. So now it's like, I stand with Tesla or whatever. And they're constantly on this treadmill of new agendas to support or fight against or whatever, without ever taking the step. That's why I don't argue with these people online. I have no interest in their opinion. I don't really care. They don't do the research. They don't look into the topics. They don't care to get it right. They just want to be on the winning team. And the winning team is actually the losing team when you dig into it, because the media has to sell it. And if you have to sell it that hard, there's probably a reason for it. So, otherwise you would just rightly say, oh, this is a cut and dry situation between Russia and Ukraine. No, it's not. There's a lot more nuance to it. But they don't have time for nuance on NBC. It's just Orange man bad, Putin man bad, Zelensky is a hero. If you think anything other than that, you're a transphobic bigot who probably doesn't support gay marriage. So I mean, everything about them is artificial and flimsy and kind of, laughable. But the problem is there are so many of these people, so many NPCs that believe this, that that you can't just ignore them because there are so many of them. You have to keep your eyes on them, and they're very dangerous in large groups. They're herd animals. They move in this herd, man. And I'll tell you, whether it's everybody has to get the shots or everybody has to stand with Ukraine, like you get on the wrong side of them, they're not interested in a debate. They're not interested in you educating them about where they're getting all this stuff wrong. They wouldn't know it even if you laid out a full detailed breakdown for them. They don't care. They don't want to know. They just want to be with the herd. And that, of course, is super dangerous.
I concur. I agree. And they just want to conform, show everybody they're playing ball, and they don't care. And they just think that they're just going to be a part of the group that gets taken care of when it's all said and done, because they have enough money to clean the insulate them from their decisions and their voting and all that stuff. I mean, if you think Gavin Newsom's doing a good job, it's unbelievable to me. It's just shocking to me. Don't complain about crime. Don't complain about the price of everything, of gas in California. Don't complain about homelessness and then keep voting for the same people in just because you can't come to grips with not voting. Okay? If you don't want to vote Republican, I totally get it. Don't. Just don't vote Democrat. Stop voting against your own interests. If you know going to gas, there is a chance you could get robbed. It's happening more and more in this country. If you can get kidnapped jogging, you can get shanked jogging. If you don't like that, stop voting for the same people in. Let's make it so obvious that they're rigging this shit.
And then will we blame him on those not being able to put your fucking climate change down or whatever, your temperature down in your house? Is he part of that?
What, dude?
Like, is that the reason?
He wants us on electric cars, bro. He's the guy pushing this whole narrative. And now he's like, oh, yeah, we're going to blackout. We're going to have blackouts, which is 100% manufactured.
Oh, yeah.
It's all manufactured, dude. It's all about doom and gloom. I think they want a lot of people here. You want to hear my belief? I think they want fucking a lot of people off the West Coast. Make it vulnerable.
Like, get rid of us?
Move everybody off the West Coast. Make it super elite and also vulnerable to attacks.
Kind of like Pearl Harbor?
Oh, by the way, I was in. You were there. Were you there when I made the Joe Rogan Andrew Tate gonna go at it thing? I forgot where we did the last.
San Fran.
San Fran.
Yeah,
and everyone,
yeah.
oh, I'm like, dude, did you see Andrew Tate's already giving Joe Rogan shit? I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you. I don't know how. I have none against Andrew Tate, okay? But his rise is textbook in the way they try to blow somebody up, right? Like, the algorithm loves you, and then they fucking, hey, dude, they deplatform me. Now you get even bigger. It's interesting.
It's the Alex Jones fucking syndrome.
I was just going to say, it's the Alex Jones formula, too.
Right? Oh, my God, they deplatformed this guy, man. He's talking truth, and now he's going to get even bigger. And I told you.
Yeah.
I bet you he's somebody they want to send in to go after Rogan because Rogan's gotten out of control.
I blame Tom Segura. It's Tom's fault.
It was Tom. That's where I saw him first. But, I mean, you think, but they went after his PayPal. They went after his website.
Yeah, I know, dude.
They nuked him. Like, they didn't.
Didn't they? I mean, like, I don't think Alex Jones is controlled opposition. Do you, Charlie?
I think he knows that there's some territory where if you talk about it, you're going to get on the wrong side of some people, and maybe he tailors it accordingly. I don't know. I mean, I would suspect
plays the game well.
I would suspect that he knows where the landmines are, and if you want to go maybe not all of them. Obviously, he jumped on the Sandy Hook one, but if you want to stay in this game, then maybe you learn how to play ball, and there's certain things you can go hard in the paint in. Certain topics, and then in others that where maybe you get a phone call and they say, you maybe go a little easier. And over time, you learn what that means, and you decide whether or not you want to be the guy that says, screw it, I'm going to go all the way and let them come after me. Or you say, well, now I have to make a decision. And I'm not trying to justify, I don't know Alex at all. I've never met him, but now you're in a situation where you're running a corporation with a bunch of people working for you, and you start making calculations like, all right, well, what is this worth as far as like, do I go short on one component of this so that I maintain this operation so that I can get the message out on everything else? And you make that sort of internal calculation about how bold do you want to be, knowing that, that determines the level of scrutiny that is brought upon your company and maybe your ability to talk at all. So I don't know him. Maybe he's had to make that decision, and you're never going to please everybody with that, for sure. I mean, it's easy for us to say, go hard after everybody, go after these globalists, specifically name names, pick these guys, you never go after Israel, Alex, go after Israel. It's easy for us to say that, but has he had a phone call in the middle of the night where somebody said, knock that shit off, or we come for your kids? And then you make that calculation and you go, well, maybe I don't want to get my kids involved in this. Maybe I don't want to wind up with my car exploding or something like that. So again, I don't, you rise to a certain level where you start to get people start to take notice of you, and then maybe you become a little bit of a threat. And at that point they start trying to scare you, and they see where you spook.
I mean, well, they do make the calls. They made the call to Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah,
they told him that they obviously are making calls. They are calling people. Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are calling people to tell you to cool it the fuck down. So I can see them telling I don't think they come off and like, hey, this is the CIA. But you start getting you start getting creepy shit, creepy numbers. Where you're like, hey, and then you kind of get the hint. We're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't talk about this shit. You know how sometimes we talk about stuff and then the internet goes out. What if that happened a lot to him and shit went going wrong? You're like, hey, maybe I just shouldn't talk about this.
Well, dude, I mean, it's super interesting, bro. And again, I go back to all my friends. I personally don't have as much to lose as those guys do. They've all built up these giant things, and it's very easy to be like, I'm gonna keep it real, bro. But when there's a lot on the line, some people may not do that. And that's why I enjoy being unfamous, okay? Because we can say whatever we want on this show. Nobody cares. But that is a danger that some people deal with, man. And, do I hate people for that? No, I don't.
I understand it. It sucks. It's a calculation that you have to make. I think if you wind up in this world, or if you're a whistleblower, or you're somebody that's in a prominent position, if you have an understanding of how these things play out, you realize, all right, my life might be in danger for talking about this particular thing. You Sammy, we had Brooke on from the Pfizer whistleblower. Like, she had to make that calculation about, well, if I start talking, I know who Brandy Vaughn is. She wound up dead. Do I want to go down that path? Well, maybe it's important for my soul that I speak out. Maybe I have a different situation. Maybe I feel more comfortable doing it, but not everybody does. And not everybody can. And everybody's in a different situation where they have friends and family that are vulnerable to things like that. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for those people that are brave enough to come out and talk about the things that they know will get them targeted. And these whistleblowers that we've had on talking about how their lives have changed, talking about how they've got a cricket. Remember, she said she got like a cricket put somewhere in a jar that was put on her front door or something, showing like, you better be quiet. Like that's scary shit.
I mean, they go after everybody. Farmers talk about like Monsanto's going after them, where all of a sudden they can't grow nothing. Dude, they'll go after you. Like, it just depends. Like, imagine being a Jeffrey Epstein victim and trying to come out to that. Like, your life's in danger. The second they hear your name, you better be ready for security.
That's why I love that there's so many conspiracy podcasts, and that's why I love to help people by getting them on this podcast or whatever. Joining the Union of the Unwanted is because I just feel like there's strength in numbers. And they can't silence all of us. And like these young podcasts or these newer podcasts tend to go really hard. They don't care. They're fearless, and I like that. And I like to help people that do that. And I think that's important. I think it's important to, the more the merrier. I say, the more the merrier, dude. Great show, Charlie. Really loved having you on again.
Thanks,
Covered a lot of great stuff today. A lot of bombs dropped. A lot of bombs.
Yep.
Charlie, if you can tell them where they can find you one more time.
Sure. Macroaggressions goes out twice a week. Audio podcast, wherever podcasts are served. Please subscribe. Please rate it. It doesn't really matter all that much to me, but apparently it makes a big difference to the algorithms. So if you can do that, we would appreciate that. The Union of the Unwanted goes out as an audio podcast as well. It's on Rockfin. You can catch my other show. I'm like Sam, like you said, you can't have one podcast. You have to have three. Day Zero, which I do with Chris Matthew and Corey Hughes and X Cubed and Lindsay Sharman. We have a really fun time. That show will definitely get kicked off the air for that one at some point. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so. I encourage you to @macroaggressions, the website, theoctopusofglobalcontrol.com. Thank you, Sammy. Thanks.
I love you, brother. Thank you so
Johnny.
much for
Thanks,
coming
XG.
on. Hope to see you guys in Plano, Texas this weekend. A lot of great stuff going on there. And then Saratoga Springs at the end of the month. Again, go to samtripoli.com for all of your needs. The new t-shirts are on there. My dates, all my premium content is there. Go check it out. I mean, dude, All My Heroes of Shadow Band, great shirt. And the Tinfoil Hat Live shirts are all there. So go check it out. And we appreciate your support. Have a great weekend.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hat.